Vacation, the Korean War, and tigers are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is July 29th, 2022. It is the 210th day of the year. We got 155 days left. It is the 30th Friday in the 31st week and the 39th day of summer. You got 55 days left until fall. You also only got a couple weeks till preseason football kicks off. I hate preseason football, it just seems so useless. If today's your birthday, you're a Leo. Today is International Tiger Day. International Tiger Day on July 29th raises awareness about the dwindling numbers of the biggest of all the big cats. I did not know this till just now, but tigers are actually bigger than lions. They also like to say lions are king of the jungle, but really they're king of the savannah, right? Tigers are king of the jungle. But yes, tigers are the largest felines in the world. They can reach up to 12.5 feet in length, including the tail, where lions range in size. Some of them can be as big as 6.5 feet long, including the tail, and some can get up to 11 feet long, depending on what kind of lion it is and what part of Africa it's coming from. There can be as much as a 300-pound difference for the tigers down to about 150 pounds. About 100 years ago, 100,000 tigers roamed Asia. Today, the estimated number brings the tiger population to fewer than 4,000 in the wild. Back in 1995, they wanted to double that number from 4,000. It's actually, some say it was about 3,500 at the time, somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000, but they wanted to double it to 8,000 by 2022. They didn't get nearly as close as they wanted to. It's now estimated that there is about 4,500 in the wild. The organization that kind of funds tiger research and protects them from poachers is called the TX2 Initiative, and it collects about $350 million a year to help save these tigers. The money is spent on investigators and rangers who patrol for poachers. The fund also pays for the protection of tiger habitats and studies of their population and movement, and even sets up thousands of wildlife trail cameras. Did you know currently tigers populate 13 countries where they roam naturally? Bangladesh, Bhutan, Cambodia, China, India, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Nepal, Russia, Thailand, and Vietnam. I saw this very interesting thing about the Russian tigers. You know, most of the time people think that tigers live in the jungle and, tropical rainforest type thing. No, there's some that live in the mountains, in Russia, in the snow. It's called a Siberian tiger, and it's a little bit different from the Sumatra and the Bengal tiger. One thing, the hair's a little bit longer and it's got a little bit wider chest and stomach area. Kind of blend in with the snow. Here's another fun fact. An adult tiger consumes about 88 pounds of meat in one meal. The average lifespan of wild tiger is not that long. It's only 10 to 15 years. That's not long. I'd think it'd be a little bit longer, but oh well. All right, let's see what else July 29th has given us. 1775, founding of the U.S. Army Judge Advocate General's Corps. General George Washington appoints William Tudor as Judge Advocate of the Continental Army, which if you're in the Army these days, you got a problem, you call the JAG office and they get it taken care of pretty quick. But you also don't want the JAG office calling you because that means you've done something stupid and you're probably going to jail. 1864, the American Civil War. Confederate spy Belle Boyd is arrested by Union troops and detained at the old Capitol Prison in Washington, D.C. Now, there were a lot of different female spies back in the Civil War, but Belle Boyd was kind of good at it. And a lot of people say it was because she was so charming. And she was very young. She was very unsuspecting. Not many people thought that this teenage girl was much of anything other than a teenage girl. She actually shot and killed a Union soldier for insulting her and her mother. There was an investigation, and the Union officers who investigated the shooting and murder found that she was justified in killing this man because of things he said. During the investigation, she said that he addressed my mother and myself in language as offensive as it is possible to conceive. I could stand it no longer. We ladies are obliged to go armed in order to protect ourselves as best we might from insult and outrage. So even though the Union officers cut her a deal or, cut her some slack, she went on to be a spy for the Confederate Army, bringing supplies, ammunition, and secrets to the Confederate Army that she would find out from Union officers. She became particularly close to one captain in the Union Army, Daniel Kelly. She said basically that he brought her a lot of gifts, flowers, and information. As time went on, the Union became hip to her game, and she was arrested more than once, like the time she was put in the old Capitol Prison in Washington, D.C., which happens to be where the Supreme Court is now. She kept getting arrested, and she'd be in prison, and then they'd send her back to Richmond, Virginia, because she was such a young girl, and, you know, it was next to impossible to morally kill a woman back then, no matter what she was doing. So she keeps getting sent back to Virginia, and then she'd show back up, collecting information the same way she did, and, you know, finally, they told her she needed to stay in the South or, you know, she was going to be killed. So then she decided to sail to England. Her ship was intercepted by the Union Navy, and she was arrested again. At that point, she was exiled to Canada and told to stay there because if she came back, her penalty would be death. As you can imagine, Belle didn't follow the rules again. Belle eventually made it to England, where she married a Union officer who was living in England. He died a year after they were married, and she remarried another Union officer living in England. She just couldn't break the cycle. I guess we all have our tastes in men and women. I like Hispanic women. My brother only liked blondes his whole life, and now he's married to one. My best friend liked redheads, and this chick just liked Union officers. I guess she just liked sleeping with the enemy. Belle tried her hand at acting and a few other things, and eventually wrote a memoir of her experience during the Civil War as a spy and a prisoner. Most people say it was greatly exaggerated, but it is entertaining. I haven't read it, but I heard it's quite an entertaining book. She eventually divorced her second Union officer husband and married another Union officer who was 17 years her junior. Can't break that cycle, Belle. Belle Boyd died of a heart attack in Kilbourne City, Wisconsin, which is now the Wisconsin Dells, on June 11th, 1900, at the age of 56. She was buried in Spring Grove Cemetery in Wisconsin Dells with members of the Grand Army of the Republic as pallbearers. For years, her grave simply read, Belle Boyd, Confederate spy, born in Virginia, died in Wisconsin, erected by a comrade. Eventually, someone gave her a proper grave, and here it is. 1965, the Vietnam War. The first 4,000 of the 101st Airborne Division paratroopers arrive in Vietnam, landing at Cam Ranh Bay. I think it's Cam Ranh Bay. 1967, Vietnam War again. Off the coast of North Vietnam, the USS Forrestal catches fire in the worst U.S. naval disaster since World War II, killing 134. That was my dad's aircraft carrier. He was not on it then. He got out a little before Vietnam. Actually, he was roughly a year away from marrying my mom at that point. Movies released on July 29th, 1983, National Lampoon's Vacation. If you haven't seen this, I suggest seeing this one. It's like an American classic. I know some people believe that, you know, to be a classic film, it's got to be a drama. It's got to be some form of serious movie like The Godfather or Bridge Over the River Kwai, something like that. It's got to have some kind of drama. This one has no drama. It is just slapstick funny comedy. It is one of National Lampoon's greatest movies. It was directed by Harold Ramis, who was one of the funniest men that ever walked this planet. Sadly, he died. It was written by John Hughes, who wrote and directed Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, all those great movies from the 80s. Everyone was in this movie. Chevy Chase, Christy Brinkley, Eugene Levy, John Candy, Anthony Michael Hall, Jane Krakowski, who, if you don't know her, she was on 30 Rock, Randy Quaid, Beverly D'Angelo, Dana Barron, Brian Doyle Murray, who's hysterical, and Imogene Coca as Aunt Edna. Such a great movie. Born on July 29th, 1883, Benito Mussolini, Italian dictator who came to power after his successful march on Rome in 1922. He threw out the country's constitution in 1925 in favor of a dictatorship, and he allied with Adolf Hitler during World War II. The Italians have a long history of military conquest going all the way back to the Roman Empire. During his time, not much. He was not a good man. We're not going to go into all the niceties of his life. We're just going to talk about how the Italian people had had enough of him after World War II or during World War II, and they basically captured him, his girlfriend, and his bodyguards and strung them up and killed them. Died on July 29th, 2021, Carl Levin, senior senator from Michigan who became chairman of the Senate Committee on Armed Services for the second time in 2007. With 6 terms under his belt, he was then the longest-serving senator in Michigan's history. He graduated from Harvard Law in 1959. The first piece of legislation he introduced was against the credit card companies that stopped them from discriminating against consumers. I watched him and I didn't really know much about it at the time, but he brought up a really good point on CNN one day where he argued that the Iraq War was a distraction, saying that there was a false connection between Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda. In March of 2021, Levin disclosed that he had lung cancer. Levin died at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit on July 29, 2021. He was 87 years old. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.